Sean Hannity picked up the lie about the frozen turbines being responsible for what's going on in Texas, and he had the governor on, and this is their interaction.
Question is, if they have these rolling blackouts and you got freezing weather, I mean, and they're not reliable and it's use it or lose it, what good is it?
Sean, this shows how the Green New Deal would be a deadly deal for the United States of America. Texas is blessed with multiple sources of energy, such as natural gas and oil and nuclear, as well as solar and wind. But you saw from what Trace said, and that is our wind and our solar got shut down, and they were collectively more than 10%.
Okay, so again, supposedly 10% was supposed to be responsible for all of this. I love, by the way, that he was just waiting for Sean Hannity to stop talking so he could do his Green New Deal would be a deadly deal line that he was evidently very proud of. And I don't think it's particularly clever. And even he says, see, he knows the distribution of how they generate power. He knows that wind and solar aren't large enough to be responsible, even if they were failing at the rate of the others. And he's there bragging about how they get their power from a bunch of different sources, but this is just too convenient. And even in the intro, before we played that, Sean Hannity said, no, I want you to understand, I'm an all of the above type of guy. I want there to be solar and wind, but this lie is too appealing. And so I'm gonna have you on and we're gonna lie about what's actually causing this. Not just because we want to protect oil and gas companies, but also they failed in Texas. That governor failed, and people have already died in Texas as a result of that failure. And we want to distract people from that. We want them thinking about how this is Al Gore's fault and AOC's fault, maybe Nader or something, but certainly not the people actually in charge of weatherizing the generation of power in Texas. And understanding, by the way, that those things were made for a certain range of temperatures. There are wind turbines north of Texas that operate in freezing temperatures. Why do those operate but not the ones in Texas? Because the ones in Texas aren't supposed to have to deal with those extreme temperatures, but they do because of climate change. Their solution would be to stop using those things, go even more into gas and oil and coal and natural gas and all of that, which would make the problem even worse. And again, it's causing those to fail too. So they want to double down on what is literally failing even more and would make the problem worse anyway.
Never ignore when leaders of a certain group, or specifically politicians, what their response is to something like this. Yes, no one brought in this particular winter storm that's hitting the South like crazy. It's a natural thing that happened, right? Now, yes, we have some effects, potentially climate change, all that stuff. But if a winter storm hits and it affects all of these systems, if your leadership doesn't look at that problem and say, how can we fix this and how can we make sure it doesn't happen again? Or how can we at least be better prepared for it? It could be as simple as drainage when rain comes, things like that where you're prepared for natural things that happen. If then your response is to start blaming other political initiatives instead of doing something about it, this problem will happen again. And in fact, the current problem will get worse. It's like what happened with Flint. When the problem was discovered with the water and the pipes and everything, which should have been discovered and addressed beforehand so that it wouldn't have happened. Once it happened, cover-ups start happening. Protection of your job starts happening. Political attacks on the other starts happening. Rather than doing your job and fixing what the problem is and even saying, we were unprepared for this, I promise you we're gonna be prepared now.
Yeah.
Because we already know that you were unprepared. We're looking at it and we're seeing people dying, we're seeing people suffer and trying to figure out what to do next. Now, if your response is now I'm gonna attack the other group that has some kind of other plan and then say, I didn't do anything, it was your fault that we never actually even implemented your plan. If that's your approach, pay attention because they're gonna do it every time to you. And eventually, you constituents are gonna be the scapegoats. It's your fault next, trust me. As a matter of fact, with the city of Colorado City, Texas, that mayor, he already did blame the constituents. He blamed his residents and his citizens. It's your fault.
How dare you ask for help? Yeah, it's like how do people not see through this? When California is ravaged by wildfires as a result of climate change worsening them, they say that it's the damn libs' fault for making all these changes that have to do with climate change. When Texas is devastated, it's the libs' fault, even though Texas didn't make those changes. So it's either way, whatever it is, it's AOC's fault. Doesn't matter where it happens or what happens, what the failure is, If it's from doing something, it's from not doing something. It's AOC's fault.
My last thought, John. Sorry, last thought. Just the way America is run in general. We're the weakest and the strongest country in the world. We have this military that can kick everybody around, but then we're afraid because people are going to attack us. We're the richest and the poorest country in the world. And we're so rich, we can do whatever we want, but we're so poor, we can't actually afford to do anything for the constituents and for the citizens that actually make up all of that money. As long as you can play we're the strongest and the weakest, we're the best and the worst side at the correct times, you can just continue to retain your power, and that's all this is.
Yeah, it's like we were saying about Antifa. Like Antifa are little nerds who live in their basement, and like strong white patriots are so much stronger. Also, Antifa are super soldiers, and they're gonna kill every cop in the country. It's like it's whatever it needs to be. It's the best and the worst. It's the best of times. It's the worst of times for reality.
For more political news, breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.